Coach Greg. In today's video, it's going to be on the top 10 training tips on how to build muscle. Many of you are going to the gym with the expectations that you're going to completely transform your physique. But you've not applied these tips, you perhaps are only going to get half the gains that you would have if you were doing them all correct. And so without further ado, number one, always warm up doing cardio before you work out. Many people go to the gym and they don't have the time. They skip out on doing cardio. If you do that, you are way more likely to get injured. Not only that, when you do cardio, it increases your body temperature and it primes the muscle for the movements you're about to perform. In the warm-up, it doesn't have to be that long. Even 5 minutes is all you need to warm up. Personally, I choose to do it a lot longer, and I would suggest you go perhaps for 10 or even 15 minutes. But if you go into the gym cold and you skip out on your warm-up, it's going to be much more difficult and you're going to be much more likely to get injured. And if you're injured, guess what? You can't train. And so please don't neglect your warm-up. Number two, do the hardest exercises first. Oftentimes you'll see people go into the gym. For example, it's leg day. They'll begin their leg workout with leg extensions and leg curls, isolation exercises. But what you should be doing is picking that hardest exercise. And which one do you think it is? Of course, it's going to be the squats. And so you begin the day when you have the most energy and use it towards the squats. Everything else you do after that, that is icing on the cake. And so for a different body part, for example, chest, why not begin with the bench press? If you do isolation disc, pec deck flies, and so on, by the time you get to the bench press, you're going to be far weaker and you're not going to pushing as hard as you could be. And so always start with the hardest exercises first when you're fresh and leave the isolation exercises for later. Number three, time your sets. All too often people ask me, how many reps do I need to do to maximize growth? Well, the problem is no two people train exactly alike. Some people have shorter arms or longer legs, and that drastically increases or decreases the length of your set. And so if you have two people both doing 10 reps and one takes 40 seconds while the other one takes 15, the person who does it for 40 seconds has a longer time under tension. And time under tension is one of the key components for growth. You want to try to get many of your sets around 40 seconds for time under tension. But if you go to the gym and watch people work out, you'll notice that the majority of people working out are doing it far too quickly. Their sets are lasting perhaps 15 or 20 seconds, and rarely would they ever go into 40 seconds. You're not creating the same metabolic damage. You're not putting your body in harm's way. You need to go longer. And so please slow the weight down, time your sets. If you notice that you're ending at 20 or 30 seconds, try to add a few reps or perhaps slow the weight down. Number four, please consider the work to rest ratio. The work, which is how long you're doing the set, should be 3 to 6 times shorter than your actual rest time. And so what does that mean? Well, if you're doing a set for 30 seconds, 3 times as long as that is a minute and a half. 6 times as long as that is 3 minutes. And so if you're doing a 30-second set, ideally you want to rest between 1.5 and 3 minutes. For the most part, people are not resting long enough. They're bragging. They're saying, hey, I only rest 30 seconds between sets. I only rest a minute. I don't know why you guys rest so long. Well, the reason we rest so long is because ATP, the readily available energy that we use while doing the set, it needs time to recover and replenish. Well, if you don't rest long enough, you won't have the energy to produce the power that you just did on the previous set. And so what ends up happening? You end up lowering the weight, getting fewer reps, and not training as hard as possible. Very important to keep track of how long you're resting. And so rather than using how short you rest as a badge of honor, consider this. The shorter that you rest, the more your workout resembles doing cardio. If you're doing squats and resting 30 seconds between sets, basically you're just doing cardio. And so why not get on the treadmill? But if your goal is to actually build muscle, you need to train hard. And the harder you train, the longer you need to recover between sets to adequately replenish that ATP so that you can produce the power to build muscle. And so please, take your time, rest between sets. Number 5, the eccentric portion, that is the stretching part, the down part, for example, on a bicep curl or the down part on a bench press. That should be performed twice as slowly as the concentric eccentric, which is the hard part where you're curling up or pushing up. And so why is that? Well, your muscles are approximately 30% stronger on the eccentric than it is on the concentric. And so it's easier. And so what you want to do is continuously make the lift hard throughout the exercise. And so clearly it's harder to push the weight up off your chest than it is to lower it. And so what you do on purpose, consciously when you're lifting, is you slowly take your time in lowering the weight. Double the time that it takes to push up. That is a great rule of thumb. And in doing this, do you know what else it benefits? Time under tension. Just think of it. If it takes you 2 seconds to lower the weight and 1 to lift it up, that makes 3 seconds per set. 3 times 13, 39 seconds. That's very close to the 40 seconds of TUT that I suggested you go for during your workouts. But if you go 1 second up, 1 second down, that is 2 seconds times 13, 26 seconds, not nearly as long as the TUT on the previous set. And so by decreasing the speed of the eccentric, you're working the muscle harder than last time. You're increasing TUT, increasing metabolic stress, and increasing the size of your muscles. Number 6, train harder than last time. And by that, I mean harder than the time before. There are so many ways that you can incorporate training harder than last time, which essentially means to progressive overload. When you're a beginner, you could go very easy, not even push yourself. And the next workout, you just add a rep. It's that simple. But once you become an intermediate or advanced lifter, you need to train to failure. If you're holding back all the time, you're not going to be getting the gains as if you push yourself to failure. And I don't mean on every single set, but at least on one set for each exercise, you should be pushing hard. How hard? Well, train to failure. And if that's not hard enough, you can, of course, use advanced training techniques. For example, you can perform partials on the strength position once you can no longer complete one full quality repetition. This happens all the time on, for example, something like a chin-up or a lat pull-down. When you can no longer get that bar all the way down to your neck, perhaps just pull down to the top of your head. Do an extra 5 repetitions halfway down. You are going to make even more gains because you're pushing harder. The body will be forced to grow because you're increasing the stimulus for muscle growth to occur. And so please train harder than last time. Number 7, use proper form. All too often, especially in beginners, they go to the gym and lift in any way possible. And because people want to keep getting stronger, their form, it goes by the wayside. You see many intermediate or advanced lifters that although they know how to properly execute a lift, they don't do it in practice. They cheat the weight, they bounce the weight, they don't go slower on the eccentric than they do on the concentric. They're doing anything and everything just to get the weight up. They are ego lifting. They're not worrying about their technique. They're worrying about how much weight they can throw away on the bar. If you lift with proper exercise form, you're going to be properly targeting the muscle and avoiding injury. And so very important to use proper lifting technique. And if you don't know how to train properly, if you don't know how to execute a lift correctly, please ask someone. Ask someone that knows what they're doing. Watch YouTube videos, hire a coach, get a personal trainer. It is, in fact, worth your time. Please train properly. Number 8, this is often neglected, is active rest. And what does this mean? Well, it means the muscle that you're training, especially when training to failure, doing higher reps, when there's lactic acid being produced, you need to move around after the set is done. Great example would be if you're sitting on a leg press and you're pressing the weight up, perhaps it's for 15 repetitions, and between sets, you're simply sitting down. What you should be doing is getting up and moving around. When you move around, it helps to increase blood flow, gets rid of the lactic acid, allows you to recover faster between sets. The worst thing you can do is simply sit there and do nothing. You should be moving between sets. Not only is it going to help you to recover faster, it's also going to burn more calories. Think of it. You're moving around, your metabolism is boosted. You're getting in a little bit of cardio, you're getting in some weightlifting, you're doing it all at the same time. And so try not to simply sit down and do nothing between sets. I know you're tempted to simply look at your phone and text, but it's much better to walk around, socialize, and then at the next set, you can come back. And so if there is a time and place to hit on that gym crush at the gym, perhaps it's after you've just done a hard set. Walk over, say, hey, did you watch Coach Greg and chill? I just did a really hard set. Do you want to come and spot me? That is something you do between sets. It's going to allow you to recover faster. And so why not give it a try? Number 9, train each body part twice a week. Still to this day, people are often doing bro splits. Bro splits, when you train, for example, chest on Monday, arms on Tuesday, you have one body part for each day of the week. That is old school. This is what we did in the 1980s. But with new research shows that you should be training each body part 2 to 3 times a week. I, in fact, train each body part every 3 days. And so if you train more frequently, what you do is you don't get quite as sore, you recover faster, and what you need to really consider is how many total sets are you doing in the week. In each and every week, you should be doing between 10 and 20 sets per body part. What does that mean? Well, it means for chest, in a total of a week, you should be doing between 10 and 20 sets. 20 sets would be, if you're not training as hard, for example, you're perhaps going at 2 to 3 reps in reserve. But if you're training really hard, training to failure, you only need to do, for example, 10 sets. Now remember, if you're a beginner, you likely need far less, but I'm talking about for intermediate or advanced lifters. And so if you're training very hard, pushing to failure, and you're training your chest twice a week, you'd only need to do 5 hard sets of chest on each and every workout. It's not much. Many people, for example, doing chest are doing 5 different exercises, 4 sets on each exercise. That is so much to do in one day. It would be much better to split that out into 2 separate training days, allow you to recover faster, not get as sore, and so please consider splitting your workouts with twice weekly training. Number 10, stretch your muscles after you work out and not before. What people often do is they go to the gym and they start stretching. But what you're doing is you're stretching a cold muscle. Your muscles need to be warm to stretch. And so my advice, wait till your workout is finished. Your muscles are clearly going to be warmed up. You've done your cardio, you've done your warm up, and now your muscles are primed to stretch further than last time. That is the best time to actually increase flexibility and do so without getting injured. Another great thing you could do, for example, what I'm doing right now is yoga. Hot yoga especially, the muscles are already warm. They're going to be much more likely to stretch further. It takes less effort to get that increased flexibility. And also, you're increasing your strength in the stretch position, the position where your muscles are most likely to get hurt. Many of the yoga poses are very difficult. It's certainly humbled me as to just how difficult it is. And so I would highly suggest that those of you who feel tight, you don't have the flexibility you need, to take up yoga or stretch after your workouts, as this is going to prevent injury. And also stretching, doing yoga, it's going to allow you, when you are in fact training, to go through the proper range of motion without any hindrances. Just think of it. You can't properly position your body. If you don't have the proper range of motion in your lifts, you're limiting yourself and you can't train effectively. And so it's very important. Don't neglect your flexibility. It's going to not only help you to train better, it's going to prevent you from getting injured. And so clearly, on top of this, you can, of course, take supplements from Harder Than Last Time. For example, G-Test. We have Turk Builder, Acti Builder, GO2 Max for increased endurance. These supplements can make a significant difference in your ability to build muscle. Don't you want increased recovery, increased endurance in the gym, the ability to push harder? If so, code Greg, 10% off. Click the link in the description. And of course, my clothing line, hoodies, jogging pants, Harder Than Last Time training, tank tops, and so on. Code Greg, 10% off. And if you don't have any money, it's okay. Got a free diet and training program. There's several of them. They're actually customized. It's absolutely unbelievable. 50 pages of information. Could have sold it for $100, given it away free. And don't forget to join the newsletter to be the first to be notified, especially if you want to get Turk Builder. Very difficult to get, truly remarkable. Currently taking this, highly suggest you give it a try. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. If you like this video, please like it. I'll do more of them. I know many of you don't like drama videos, you like this, but we shall see. What gets the most views will be the ones I do the most of. Also, don't forget to watch one of those 2 bloops, and until next time, I am out.